Do you have a Death Wish? I do. We're playing Death Wish in Legacy Sultai Saga Storm. Let's go check it out. Once again, we're playing a donation deck from Matthew's story. Matthew, thank you for your continued support. But the deck list that we're playing is actually Shuffles the Drummer, the current Magic Online Trophy Leaders Sultai Saga Storm deck list. And Shuffles the Drummer, aka Tyler Carden, has been a long-time tutoring client of mine, and we've worked on decks from Ad Nauseam Tendrils to now Sultai Saga Storm together. And that's what we're playing today. This Urza Saga-based Black Storm deck. You're playing blue primarily for the consistency of Brainstorm plus Boomerang Basics out of the sideboard, since Boomerang Basics is the best removal spell for Legacy Storm due to the ability to bounce your own copies of Mox Opal or other zero-mana artifacts and draw cards that way. So you get the consistency of Brainstorm, and then green provides you Veil of Summer and then Carpet of Flowers out of the sideboard to beat those pesky tempo strategies along with Abrupt Decay. So the deck is still the classic Storm shell that Legacy is known for. You have your Dark Rituals, Infernal Tutor, and then you have newer cards like Beseech the Mirror that go and get Gaea's Will. But you also have the classic Ad Nauseam. So this is how you look to beat Graveyard Hate. In the Epic Storm, we play Echo of Aeon, so we're not really able to play Ad Nauseam. Ad Nauseam here is how you sidestep the cards that would traditionally beat Beseech the Mirror. In the Epic Storm, we have Song of Creation. In this deck, it's Ad Nauseam. So this is the card that we're playing. And the game usually ends with a main deck copy of Tendrils of Agony. If it doesn't, we have Death Wish, a spicy card that we're playing today that gets any card from the sideboard, unlike Burning Wish. So Death Wish could even get a non-sorcery like Carpet of Flowers. So the idea here is that most of the time, let's be honest, you're getting a sorcery. Either Beseech the Mirror to get that Gaea's Will, or Debt to the Deathless. This is actually how you beat the One Ring or Veil of Summer or anything like that. But Death Wish does give you the flexibility of an odd Haywire Mite or something else at some point if you were to need it for that reason. So this is just an easier way to cast version of Burning Wish in this deck that really only makes black mana due to Dark Ritual. So yeah, we're not splashing red for Burning Wish. Instead, we're running the Death Wish. You're still most likely getting sorceries like the Debt to the Deathless, and that's the idea here. Why play this over the Epic Storm? I think the real reason is Urza Saga. You have a pivot plan that can also get an answer like Haywire Mite, or just beat your opponent to death if your opponent has a heavy counterspell hand. The downsides, I think there's probably less flexibility to beat Hate. You lose out on things like Silence, things like that, but this isn't a video about comparing Sultai Saga Storm to the Epic Storm. It's about showcasing the deck that's been having so much success on Magic Online. So shoutouts to Shuffles the Drummer. Thank you to Matthew's story for the donation deck, and let's see if we can get a trophy here today. Stick around and watch the matches. I will see you in the first one. Don't go anywhere. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. You can also show your support by becoming a member of this channel. You get sweet perks such as badges, emotes, early access to videos, exclusive members-only content, and access to our members Discord section. As you increase the tiers, there are other rewards such as shop discounts, sideboard guides, and even free donation decks. Click the join button down below to find out more. We also have other ways you can support us, like theepicstorm.com/shop or submitting a donation deck via theepicstorm.com/donation decks. That's enough for now. Let's play some Magic. Welcome to the first match with Sultai Saga Storm. We're playing Shuffle the Drummer's list, and we are on the play. Our opponent has some recent results with Mono Black Moonshadow. So here we have a hand where it seems okay. I mean, you could imprint the Infernal Tutor and then go Dark Ritual, Wishclaw Talisman, play both Lotus Petals and pass. But now you're still like a Lion's Eye Diamond away from winning. You could go Lotus Petal, Chromox, and print Veil of Summer, play Lotus Petal, Wishclaw Talisman. Then if they don't Thoughtseize you, you're pretty close to winning. Or I guess, okay, actually, this is a keep. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play Chromox and print the Infernal Tutor, play Lotus Petal, and then you're only like another Dark Ritual or a Lion's Eye Diamond away. And I will play the Lotus Petal and Wishclaw Talisman, pass the turn. They have a basic swamp, so it looks like they are on that Moonshadow deck, and now they Thoughtseize. A Lion's Eye Diamond wins the game. Let's see if we can draw one. Veil of Summer. I'll take a land. So now a Mox Opal, a Lotus Petal, Dark Ritual, Lion's Eye Diamond all win. How lucky are we? Not that lucky. Alright, so we'll play the Thoughtseize. I don't know if I care about any of this. I think we actually just take the Street Wraith to make sure that they can't draw into like a Thoughtseize or something. We'll pass the turn. They play the known Wasteland. And now we'll draw. That does not win. Bummer. I'm going to pass the turn. So now most of our draws win the game, though. Anything that doesn't make mana most likely imprints onto Chrome Mox. I say most likely because there's a couple draws that would not win the game. The one that is always stuck to my hand, for example, Gaea's Will. That would not win the game. Another copy of Wishclaw Talisman would not win the game. So there are a few, but most of our draw steps now win. They swing, we'll go to 15. Ouch. Another Wasteland. And they play a Barrogoyf. Okay. Let's go search out a Surveil land here. We'll fetch with the Marsh Flats. Grab an Underground Mortuary. They've already seen green, so we don't need to show them blue. That'll do, Pig. That'll do. They're at 20. We'll play the Dark Ritual. I guess we'll play Chrome Mox. It's kind of free to do so here. And now we'll Beseech the Mirror with Bargain, sacrifice the Chrome Mox. Why not? Let's grab a second copy of Beseech the Mirror. One thing to note is that sometimes when I'm playing the Epic Storm, I will grab a third copy of Beseech the Mirror, which this deck list does not play. But a third copy of Beseech the Mirror allows you to beat Fairy Macabre, and this deck list only has 2. I'm sure it's something that Tyler Carden and the other people working on this archetype have thought about, but it's just worth mentioning that like there is some value to playing 3, because Fairy Macabre is a relatively common sideboard card. So there will be situations in which you could have beaten a card naturally that might trip you up. And now we'll play another copy of Beseech the Mirror, sacrifice that Chrome Mox, and grab the main deck copy of Tendrils of Agony. Beautiful. Just how he drew it up. So this mono black deck typically does not play spells we want to discard with Thoughtseize. So like you could discard one of their hate permanents like a Damping Sphere, or May the Black Eidolon of the Great Revel, whatever it's called, Scornful Striker. But the full name is May Scornful Striker, by the way. But I don't think that's actually how you should be approaching the matchup, because having Thoughtseize requires you to resolve it against a deck that could accelerate it out on turn 1. So instead, I think you're supposed to just board in removal spells and answer those cards that way. So I will be bringing in 2 Boomerang Basics, 2 Abrupt Decay, and then the question is, do we want something like a Haywire Mite specifically for something like Leyline of the Void or Damping Sphere? I think it's worth bringing in, and on the draw, I will get rid of 1 Veil of Summer. On the play, I'd probably bring that 4th Veil of Summer back in, but on the draw, they've already resolved their Thoughtseize or whatever, so it has less value. This is a very reasonable hand. It's not a fast hand, but it's a hand that is good against disruption and discard. Here they have a Leyline of the Void, they play Polluted Delta, they have Basic Swamp, Dark Ritual, Thoughtseize. So if they have the May Scornful Striker, they could play it after discarding my Abrupt Decay. And they do take the Abrupt Decay. There it is! Alright, so I believe our game plan now is Urza Saga. We'll play Underground Mortuary. Dark Ritual. I don't think that's something I want, so I'm going to put that to the graveyard. We'll pass. They have 3 cards in their hand. They play a Bloodstained Mire. They attack for 2, I'll go to 18. Back-to-back draws being lands is not ideal. Okay, pass the turn. They cycle Street Wraith down to 15. They play a Marsh Flats. They'll attack again. I will go to 16. No Wasteland this turn was huge, because that means that the Saga will get to make at least 1 construct. They grab another Basic Swamp. And now they're fetching down to 13. Barrogoyf. And it's large. It's a 4/5. I am in trouble. Veil of Summer. So I could try to pivot here, and I don't know if it's the move, but it's worth thinking about. I think my life total is high enough where I'm not going to try to pivot yet, but I could try to not make constructs and then play out the Wishclaw Talisman. That way I can go get a Boomerang Basics to bounce the May. The issue with that is I've drawn terribly this game, so I'm not even close to having the resources required in order to win. And the May, fun fact, has first strike, so even if I were to make a construct this turn, it is not large enough. So I'll take 6 down to 8, and they're going to gain 4. They milled over a Bowmaster and a Stalactite Stalker, so they can return one of those here. They choose the Orcish Bowmasters. They now play it. I go to 7. Yeah, not in a great spot. Alright, so we'll make a construct. Looks like their last card in hand is a Fatal Push. Wow. I feel like I was nut drawn a little bit here. Okay, so we'll draw for turn. Another land. Brutal. The downsides of playing 15 lands in your Storm deck. Alright, so we'll make a construct. Go grab Haywire Mite most likely. We'll play Marsh Flats and pass the turn. They attack with the Barglyph and the Orc Army. Interesting. I'll block with the Construct and the Haywire Mite. For 4 damage, sacrifice the Marsh Flats. We'll go grab Bayou. And then use the Haywire Mite to remove the Leyline of the Void. So the Barglyph is not going to deal any damage. And they drew Damping Sphere. Okay. You know what? Sometimes you lose it. It's just what happens. You got me. We'll go to game 3. Alright, so on the play, I think I do want the Veil of Summer. Helps protect your Boomerang Basics for Abrupt Decay. Maybe this is a matchup where you don't need the Death Wish. So we'll get rid of that. And let's try it out. On the play for game 3. Well, this is a hand. Is it a good hand? I don't know. Kind of doesn't do anything. You don't even have blue mana for the Brainstorm unless you go down a card on the Lotus Petal. I wouldn't keep this. We'll go to 6. Ooh. This is an Ad Nauseam. So I believe, hear me out, bottom the Veil of Summer, Verna Catacombs, Lotus Petal, Lion's Eye Diamond, Dark Ritual, Chrome Mox. No, I can't do that. Sorry, I was thinking about a Chrome Mox trick. That doesn't work. But this is an Ad Nauseam. So the question becomes, would you rather have the Chrome Mox in your deck, or would you want it in play for Metalcraft? I think in the deck, we'll put Chrome Mox back. You have your Leyline of the Void. Yeah, sure. We're going to Ad Nauseam. Verdant Catacombs. We'll play Lotus Petal. Fetch with the Verdant Catacombs. We'll grab the basic Swamp in case we have to pass the turn. We'll be immune to Wasteland. Dark Ritual. Lion's Eye Diamond. Infernal Tutor holding priority. Sacrifice for 3 black. And now we'll grab Ad Nauseam and cast it. So 3 is yes to continue, 4 is stop, so that way you don't have to click yes or no each time. Mox Opal, Dark Ritual, Lotus Petal, Infernal Tutor, that's going to do it. We'll stop at 6. We did it. We have successfully cast Ad Nauseam in the face of double Leyline of the Void. Play Chrome Mox and print this Abrupt Decay, play a Lotus Petal, Dark Ritual, and Tendrils of Agony. Target you. Our opponent says GG's to our opponent, and we have won match number 1 with Sultai Saga Storm. Moxfield.com is the easiest way to build a Magic deck online. They support over 30 formats, including Legacy and many other Eternal formats. There are so many options to view decks the way that you want, from text view to individual cards, mana value, and even card price. There's also light mode and dark mode. My personal favorite feature is card tags. This way you can sort cards by function. Moxfield supports collection tracking, Scryfall search, decklist feedback, and so much more. Follow me on Moxfield.com so you can stay updated on all of my decks. We're back for the second match, and we are on the draw versus someone who also plays a lot of combo decks. I'm not sure what they're playing today, but I'm going to choose to keep. They play Island into Lotus Petal. Okay. Maybe a Show and Tell deck. Beseech the Mirror number 2 is not a good draw. We'll play Lotus Petal, pass the turn. They now play a Brainstorm. Another Lotus Petal. It feels like a Show and Tell deck, or maybe even Doomsday. We'll grab Undercity Sewers so that way I can try to resolve this Brainstorm. This is greedy. I'm going to get rid of the Underground Mortuary. I need a fetch land here. I need to get rid of some of these tutors. We'll play another Lotus Petal and Brainstorm. That was not great. That was real bad. We'll put 2 copies of 2 copies of Beseech the Mirror on top. And then this is not a play that I would like to make. I need to Infernal Tutor here. Reveal Lion's Eye Diamond. Play Lion's Eye Diamond, play Lion's Eye Diamond, and unfortunately we will pass the turn at this point. They're going to forcible the second one? What? Sure, you got it. Yeah, by all means. Am I dead? It would seem so. They have 3 cards in their hand. Attracts a Grand Unifier. I mean, they hit another show and tell, but they didn't hit any counter magic. They did hit a Veil of Summer, though. They play Tropical Island, Lotus Petal. So if we win this game, it's going to involve Death Wish into the Deathless, and we likely need more mana and resources. So you either need to Ad Nauseam or have a very stocked graveyard for a Gaea's Will line. But everything right now starts with me hitting more mana. So let's play this Brainstorm. Alright, I'm going to choose to put Infernal Tutor on top, which might be crazy, but hear me out. My logic here is that if they show and tell again, I can put in Wishclaw Talisman, and then I can play Chrome Mox and print Veil of Summer, cast the Veil of Summer that's on top of my deck. I don't know if that wins the game, but it's a line that could. So they'll attack. I will go to 12. They ponder. It looks like they might not be casting another show and tell. They play Scalding Tarn, and they pass. Saga goes to the second chapter. We know that they have a Veil of Summer. I think I'm supposed to try to just move this turn. So let's cast Dark Ritual and Wishclaw Talisman. They Veil of Summer in response. Sure. I will now play a Veil of Summer. They're at 26. That's a lot of life. This is a downside to the Deathless. This is a debate that is often talked about in the Storm Discord, where people are like, Debt to the Deathless often costs less mana. Well, right now it costs a lot more mana because our opponent's at 26. So I'm in a spot where I can't even Ad Nauseam here because the Wishclaw Talisman requires a mana to activate. So I have to Gaea's Will first before I do anything else. We'll grab Beseech the Mirror, sacrifice Chrome Mox, and now we will Beseech the Mirror again just to pull that 4 mana value card out of our deck. Sacrifice the Urza Saga, and now we'll Gaea's Will. I don't even know if it's possible to win from here because I would need a lot of mana, like a lot. But we're going to try. I mean, it's the only thing I can do. So we'll play Lion's Eye Diamond, Lotus Petal. Our opponent's like posturing like they have something, but you've already played your thing, so I'm not going to buy that. We'll play Urza Saga, and now we need to use Lion's Eye Diamonds in order to make black mana so that way we can cast Ad Nauseam. I guess we might as well play Dark Ritual here. Infernal Tutor. Storm is 15. So we'll grab the Ad Nauseam. So let's count real quick. So 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds is 6, 7, 8 from the 2 other Lotus Petals. Let's say we play all 4 Mox Opals. That's 12. Plus 3 Dark Rituals is 7. That's 19 mana. 22 mana. I mean, technically it is possible. If we have like the world's best Ad Nauseam, we could do this. So let's try. Alright. There's the Death Wish. I didn't want to reveal it. I'm at 2. This has not been a very good Ad Nauseam. I mean, I could stop, but I can't win if I do, so I'm going to flip. I'm at 1. Yeah, I'm not sure what else I'm supposed to do here. You know, I feel a little bit vindicated right now. All those people telling me that Death Through the Deathless is better than other options. I feel like I'm just going to send them this video moving forward. No. Alright, I'm going to quit wasting time. We only have... I shouldn't say only 19 minutes. We actually have plenty of time. I guess we can hope for like the world's best Brainstorms over and over again. Like technically we're not dead. So let's just pray for miracle Brainstorms. And that was 2 lands and a Thoughtseize. Alright, we're officially out of this. Let's just save our time and go to the next one. That was not great. So you could bring in Carpet of Flowers. That said, I think it's a mistake. Carpet of Flowers is not good versus Ancient Tomb Lotus Petal combo decks that can win off of 1 island. I think boarding this in is actually just like a flaw in like not understanding the matchup and how it functions. You could bring in Haywire Mite. Sometimes these decks have like Grafdigger's Cage. It also could obviously answer an Omniscience. I'm just not sure if that's actually good. But is it any worse than land number 15? Probably not. So here I'll get rid of the basic Swamp. And we'll try this out. Alright, game 2. I don't love it, but I think it's a fine hand. We'll play Polluted Delta, fetch. Grab Underground Sea in case we're fortunate enough to draw Brainstorm for our second turn, and Thoughtseize. They kept a no colored source hand. I'm going to get rid of the Force of Will. Pass the turn. They play Ancient Tomb, Wishclaw Talisman. Maybe a decent draw here, because they can go grab a Lion's Eye Diamond. Now we'll pass. They drew a mana. So now they have Show and Tell into Emrakul of the Aeon's Torn, and they're telling me I have to win. Not great. No, they're going to a Braid, okay. I don't know if that's actually good or bad for me here. Thoughtseize. I guess we'll play it. We'll discard the Emrakul. I accidentally closed their hand. I was trying to clear out the other cards. They have double Sneak Attack, Show and Tell, and Ancient Tomb. We need to remember that. So they could play the Sneak Attack here, and they do. They have one unknown card. Urza Saga. I just have to pass. There's really nothing I can do in this spot. I could Infernal Tutor for another Mox Opal, but that's no good. Our opponent is just going to pass. Urza Saga will move to the second chapter, another Veil of Summer. Not great. We'll play Mox Opal, pass the turn. Maybe I should have held the Mox Opal for Storm, but they're already at 13, so I don't know. Am I dead? It appears that I am not dead. Alright, let's make a construct, and we hit a land. So, if I go grab a Lion's Eye Diamond, I can Beseech the Mirror with Veil of Summer backup. So we'll float a colorless. Actually, no, I don't have another untapped land to fetch. We have both of our untapped fetchables, so maybe I'm punished here for boarding out the swamp, and maybe I should have gotten rid of a fetch land. Alright, we'll grab a Lion's Eye Diamond. I would like to think through this. So, if I Veil of Summer, I then can Infernal Tutor for the other Beseech the Mirror. That's probably good enough. So, let's play the Veil of Summer. You have another Abrade? They do. Yeah. They forcible pitching Show and Tell. I guess I could have floated a green off the Opal. I didn't, but I could have. I don't know if that's even a play mistake. I wasn't expecting them to force the Veil. So we'll attack, and I can Surveil on their end step. Their hand is a second Sneak Attack and 2 unknowns, I believe. We'll fetch, grab Undercity Sewers, I suppose. I think Lotus Petal does it here. We'll play the Lotus Petal, attack for 3, Veil of Summer, and now we can Beseech the Mirror for Gaea as well. Sacrifice the Mox Opal. So you might be saying, why not just grab Tendrils of Agony here? And that's a fair question, and I'm not trying to make fun of anyone. However, Consign to Memory is a popular card that sees play in Legacy, so I would not like to lose to Consign to Memory when I could just Thoughtseize my opponent first. And now they're going to concede. I don't know if I played that game optimally. Also, I think we have to board in the swamp. I think I was punished that game there for it. So maybe you get rid of another fetch land, or you could trim an Urza Saga. I'll get rid of a fetch land, I think. We'll try this. Here we have a pretty clunky hand, but we do have Brainstorm plus a potential fetch land. I'm going to try it. I'd like to get rid of this Death Wish. I do not want it clogging up my hand. I do like the ability to put in Wishclaw Talisman off of a potential Show and Tell. In the Epic Storm, we're often looking to put in Hexing Shusher or Song of Creation, which are, in my opinion, a little bit more powerful, but anything you can put into play, usually pretty good. Alright, so game 3, I lost some time. Magic Online just, died. So I'm down to 10 minutes now. Looks like my opponent was unaffected. They play Tropical Island and Grafdigger's Cage, so that's going to shut off Gaea as well. I guess we have the Haywire Mite. From Mox, not really a great draw here. So if they have a Veil of Summer, we'll need to Ad Nauseam and then remove the Grafdigger's Cage. Looks like they do not have a second land. Grab the Undercity Sewers, Surveil. I don't think I want the Opal. I mean, the Opal's really close. Maybe I do want it. Let's play Lotus Petal, Mox Opal, and Brainstorm. Ugh, terrible. This is so bad. I guess we put double Chrome Mox on top? I don't even know. Play Wishclaw Talisman. I'm trying to think what I could even do with this Death Wish, because I need it to be my win condition versus Veil of Summer, But I also have 2 dead draws on top of my deck. The Wishclaw Talisman resolves. They play Lotus Petal, and they shuffle my deck for me. Thank you. Thank you. We'll grab Underground Mortuary, Infernal Tutor. I mean, it doesn't work with the Death Wish, so I have to get rid of it. I need to be Hellbent for Infernal Tutor, and I have no way of getting rid of the Death Wish. Urza Saga is a good draw here, because currently our opponent is light on mana, so maybe I can win the game with Construct tokens before they can combo. You draw another Chrome Mox, and I'm going to just pass the turn. They're going to just send it back, so end step will make a Construct. I'm all in on Construct Beatdown right now. Draw for turn, it's Gaea's Will, of course it is. Garbage card. We'll make another Construct. We're going to grab Haywire Mite. I don't think we're actually trying to combo this game. Play a Chrome Mox. Oh, I'm so dumb! I am so dumb! Grafdigger's Cage and Haywire Mite. Whoops. Ah, brutal. I was thinking about just like, oh, I'm not going to need mana. Haywire Mite obviously does not work with Grafdigger's Cage. Might as well imprint this guy as well then. Play the Chrome Mox. No imprint. And now we'll attack for 7. Pass the turn, they're at 13. I have lethal on board. I somehow won the match. I did not deserve it, but we got there. Construct tokens got the job done. A really bad Brainstorm, a fortunate Beseech who endures, and we're looking at a win. Wow. We are now 2-0. Looking to make playing your favorite combo deck much easier? Look no further than the Epic Storm Mini Combo Pack, which is available at theepicstorm.com/shop for $15.99. This token combo pack comes with 84 double-sided tokens featuring classic Storm and Mana tokens with new inclusions such as our modern Ruby Storm package, but that's not all. Our token pack covers a variety of formats from Pauper to CDH with new tokens. Stop on by theepicstorm.com/shop and make an easy decision to elevate your combo game. We're back at it for the third match on the draw. This seems like a reasonable Magic the Gathering hand I will keep. My best draw is likely a Lion's Eye Diamond. They have Basic Island into Ponder. If I could find Lion's Eye Diamond, this hand would be a turn 1 win with Thoughtseize backup. I mean, my draws that do that are exactly Lion's Eye Diamond. Another Dark Ritual doesn't do it due to Infernal Tutor requiring Hellbent, but it is a pretty good hand. They did not shuffle on the Ponder. Oh my. Are we lucky? Did that just happen? We'll play Lotus Petal. Pass Thoughtseize. You dead. Alright, it looks like they're playing Sneak and Show. Dark Ritual. We will cast Infernal Tutor, holding priority. Sacrifice the Lion's Eye Diamond for black. Grab Beseech the Mirror. Cast it from 7. We'll select the Gaea's Will, holding priority at a black. What a lucky draw. Can't believe we actually drew the Lion's Eye Diamond. Just bananas. So now we're just going to continue to play out our artifacts. Mox Opal. Tap the Mox Opal. Beseech the Mirror. Bargain away the Mox Opal. And we'll grab Tendrils of Agony here. I had a person ask this, so I'm just going to mention it while I'm clicking through. They're like, why do you float white mana off of Mox Opal so often? It's literally just the first option to tap for a mana color. Why would I waste seconds clicking on blue or black when any color will do, and the first option is white? So you just don't need to add a red or whatever a lot of the time. So Sneak and Show again, bring in the Haywire Mite. Let's get rid of another fetch land, blue to Delta, pass. So I'm boarding out a fetch land in which our opponent might name with a Pithing Needle or Disruptor Flute. I wouldn't ever board out Marsh Flats because they're never going to name Marsh Flats. So it should always be Verdant Catacombs or Polluted Delta. Game 2 on the draw, our opponent has kept 7. This hand is very close. If you were to draw like a Chrome Mox, this hand could get there. I think I'm going to be more disciplined in Mulligan though, because if you don't hit, this hand does nothing. This is much better. Get rid of the Brainstorm. So Chrome Mox, another Lotus Petal, get us extremely close to this hand just winning. Dark Ritual is obviously very good, but we do need Metalcraft. So I'm a couple draw steps away, I guess is my point. Our opponent plays Misty Rainforest, grabs that basic island again, Grafdigger's Cage. Well, I don't plan on using the graveyard here. They play a Lotus Petal, 4 cards remain, Wishclaw Talisman. Not the worst draw. It is an artifact for Mox Opal, but I can't actually cast it. We'll play Thoughtseize. They have double force. They're also only 1 mana away from Show and Tell. I think I have to take the Show and Tell. Yeah, we'll get rid of the Show and Tell. Pass the turn. That is quite the hand they open, though. I'm actually a little surprised they didn't Force of Will that discard spell. Because with only being 1 mana away, I mean, if I was in their shoes, I would have forced. But they are being more disciplined. We'll play Lion's Eye Diamond, Mox Opal, and Wishclaw Talisman. Urza Saga would also be a very good draw because it could beat, double 4s if we could manage to make it happen. I'd also love a Brainstorm to get this Ad Nauseam back into the deck for the Wishclaw Talisman. We will pass. If we can somehow manage to get to a point where we can if we can Ad Nauseam with Veil of Summer backup, we could use Wishclaw Talisman plus Lion's Eye Diamond mana for the second Veil of Summer to beat the second Force of Will. That's something I used to do with the Epic Storm way back when we used to play Wishclaw Talisman. Dark Ritual, a great draw here. I think that does it. So we'll play Dark Ritual, cast Ad Nauseam. They have to Force of Will. They force pitching Force. I will Veil of Summer. They Spell Pierce. I'll add 3 black. Yes. Veil of Summer. It resolves, and now we get to Ad Nauseam. 3 is yes, 4 is stop. We're going to flip until it's no longer safe. Alright, we're at 4. It is no longer safe. And now we're just going to go through the motions. Dark Ritual. Thought Sees You. Take the Emrakul, I guess. Lion's Eye Diamond. We'll make another black with the Mox Opal. Play Chrome Mox, imprint Gaea's Will. Play Chrome Mox, imprint Brainstorm. We'll cast a Brainstorm. Put back 2 lands. Play some more artifacts. Tap the Mox Opal for a blue, I guess. We'll play another Mox Opal. I'm just casting spells here. I have this many spells, I'm going to cast them. Alright, so Thoughtseize, Dark Ritual. Let's play another Wishclaw Talisman. Play my land. I will cast Infernal Tutor holding priority. We'll add 3 black. We'll grab Tendrils of Agony and target you. Sweet. We were a little bit lucky this round, I won't lie, but I'll take it. We are now 3-0. The Gold Sabertooth times the Epic Storm collection has arrived with 3 full-size tokens showcasing the beloved Dark Ritual, CDH Rogsai, and Legacy of the Epic Storm for just $5. On the backs of these tokens, there's a place for my signature or a custom message. In addition to these sweet tokens, a friendly reminder that all orders that ship from theepicstorm.com also come with a signed Storm token from yours truly. It's risky, but is it a keep? I'm on the draw. I don't know what our opponent's playing, but if they're a blue deck, we have double Urza Saga Beatdown. If they're not a blue deck, Infernal Tutor or Wishclaw Talisman off the top rope win the game. Same thing with Beseech the Mirror. I'm going to try it. Spire of Industry. Lion's Eye Diamond. I see we're getting spicy over there. Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual, am I just dead? It looks like it. Losing the die roll is so uncool. Shieldred the Apocalypse. Okay, I know the exact deck list that our opponent's playing. There was a Japanese Epic Storm hybrid that did really well. It was like half the Epic Storm, half Black Saga Storm. That's what they're playing. Underground Mortuary. I don't even know if I feel the need to Thoughtseize, because if they could have done something better, they likely would have on the first turn. So the question is, do I play the Urza Saga to get closer to beatdown mode versus the Shieldred? Or do I play the Mortuary to see if I can find Infernal Tutor or Beseech the Mirror faster? So if I play Saga, next turn I play Chrome Mox, make a Construct, that's 4, so it's still 2 turns away from catching up to the Shieldred. I think the play is Underground Mortuary. Get rid of the land, pass the turn. Oh, we're dead. Okay, I guess I should have I should have Thoughtseize to see if they had the gamble. Okay, we died to Shieldred. In my head, I was like, that is the one card we lose to. But what are the odds that it's gamble? I could have Thoughtseized, but then I lose my Dark Ritual, and I didn't want to shut off Beseech the Mirror, so I guess it's my own fault. We definitely want Leyline of the Void. Helm of Obedience allows us to beat Veil of Summer. I think you're supposed to get rid of the Ad Nauseam. So the question is, do you want 3 untapped lands? Because I think you should board out a land, and in the Storm Mirror, it's probably Urza Saga. We could keep the Death Wish, but it seems pretty unlikely that Death Wish converts into a win without an Ad Nauseam. So I think I'm actually going to get rid of the Death Wish. I wonder if, like, if I'm getting rid of Death Wish, if you bring in Beseech, it sets up Gaia's Will or finds Helm easier, so I kind of like the additional Beseech. But the issue is I'm still at 63 cards, which is a lot. Running out of time here, I don't know what to board out. Maybe we'll shave a couple copies of Infernal Tutor and a Mox Opal. Let's try this. My only other thought was like getting rid of Veil of Summers, but I don't know if I actually like that. This is not a keep. Mulligan. This is a keep. We can get rid of Tendrils of Agony. Alright, Tendrils to the bottom. Leyline of the Void. They have their own Leyline of the Void. How lovely. We'll play Marsh Flats and pass. So you could play out the Urza Saga. That is a possibility. I would like to hold open Veil of Summer and grab my Surveil land. They have Lion's Eye Diamond again. Mox Opal. We'll fetch. And grab Underground Mortuary. I don't think we want Infernal Tutor. We'll get rid of that. Wishclaw Talisman. So it's awkward. I can't play the Wishclaw Talisman here without taking the Veil of Summer shield down. If I did do that, I could win the game next turn, I believe. So let's talk through. I would play Wishclaw Talisman next turn, imprint the Veil of Summer, use the Chrome Mox to activate, go get Dark Ritual. I'd actually be 1 mana short of winning. So I think it's free to just wait a turn here. Our opponent just passes. Okay. We draw another Leyline of the Void. So we can play out Witchclaw now while holding open the Veil of Summer. And then we have a win next turn. So we'll just pass. We have to hope that we're not dead here. Well, it looks like we're not. Dark Ritual. Let's tap for a colorless. Grab a Lion's Eye Diamond, I suppose. Dark Ritual. Beseech the Mirror, bargain away Chrome Mox. Grab Helm of Obedience. We'll pass. And then in their upkeep, we'll activate the Helm. Target you. They Veil of Summer, but that doesn't do anything. And they're going to show us how they sideboarded. That's awfully generous. And they boarded in Thoughtseize. Yeah, I mean, this is just the list that I've seen recently. Okay. I think it's no changes on my side. Resubmit. If you didn't like my trimming method of like boarding out an Opal and 2 Infernal Tutors, another option that I am less crazy about is you could get rid of Brainstorm, but I don't know if I love that. They took a mulligan. This hand is actually a turn 1 win through Gaia's Will. So we know that our opponent boarded in Leyline of the Void. We also know that they're a Veil of Summer deck. So if they have Veil of Summer, this hand actually doesn't do anything. This is one of the downsides of this Saga Storm deck, is that Beseech the Mirror only does Gaia's Will. It doesn't do anything else. Not even a little bit. So like I could put a Leyline of the Void into play and then pass, but is that a good? I don't know. So I think I'm going to mulligan instead. This hand is incredible. We will keep. So we can bottom the Veil of Summer. And then any imprintable off the top is a turn 1 win. They also have Leyline. Here we go. They play Lotus Petal, Vault of Whispers, Lion's Eye Diamond. Am I dead? If it's Dark Ritual Beseech the Mirror, I'm dead. Because they also have the Helm of Obedience combo in their deck. The opponent is deep in the tank here. They've spent over a couple minutes just like pause between their first main phase and their second main phase. Any card that imprints to this Chrome Mox wins the game. That'll do. We'll play Marsh Flats, Chrome Mox, imprint Leyline of the Void, fetch. So I am doing this in a manner in which, if for some reason, and I don't know what it would be, that they could somehow destroy an artifact but not an enchantment, that I don't get punished here. So I can now play Wishclaw Talisman, and then we'll make 6 mana. And that gives me 5 mana, so I can go get the Helm of Obedience and activate this turn. We'll play Helm of Obedience. Target you. Looks like we've done it. Pass the turn. Our opponent says GG's opponent. I mean, they killed me with Gamble for Echo in game 1. How am I supposed to be upset about that? But we're 4-0. We're about to go play for a trophy. Let's see if we can make it happen. The best Legacy podcast? That would be Eternal Glory, featuring myself, Bryant Cook, alongside Brian Koval and Phil Gallagher. We're available on all major podcast platforms and YouTube. The final round for the trophy, we're on the play. They reveal a Yorion Sky Nomad. Alright, we have both of our tutor targets in our hand. We have a Brainstorm but no blue. I think we should probably mulligan. So they revealed a Yorion, which probably tells me Death and Taxes. I think we're going to go to 5. Okay. Bottom the Death Wish and maybe the Thoughtseize. We're just really hoping to brainstorm into a Dark Ritual. We'll play Underground Sea and pass. Wasteland, that hurts my feelings. Alright, Dark Ritual, I really need you to be on top of the deck. Nope. Why would you ever be there? Alright, we're gonna hide Beseech the Mirror and Veil of Summer, I guess. Play Urza Saga. Play a Lotus Petal. Pass the turn. Another Wasteland. I don't like this. Okay. We know that our top card is a Beseech the Mirror. Dark Ritual is still the card that could win it for us. I say could because nothing is guaranteed, but that is what I'm thinking about at the moment. They play a Scrubland, either Vial, so it is in fact Death and Taxes. Alright, deck, I need that Dark Ritual. Wishclaw Talisman. We're going to pass. A second copy of Aether Vial. What's one Dark Ritual between friends, right? Come on. That technically allows me to play Wishclaw Talisman. So we'll imprint the Veil of Summer, play the Mox Opal, play Wishclaw Talisman, and pass. This is a win next turn, assuming nothing bad happens to me. Our opponent will have an Aether Vial on 2, so bad things could happen. They activate the Aether Vial. Cameo. Alright, so they're Esper Vial then, and they could have Force of Will, now that I've imprinted my Veil of Summer, like a clown. That's a blue source. So am I supposed to disrespect and just Dark Ritual jam? Or do I try to be more patient and then lose to, like, Recruiter of the Guard into something that beats me? We'll play Bayou. Another thing is I don't have Beseech the Mirrors to chain here, so I only get to bargain one thing. This is part of the reason why I think 2 Beseech the Mirrors is just a little awkward at times. So I can go get Dark Ritual, bargain the Opal, load off Lotus Petal, and I think my only real hope here is that the opponent doesn't have any interaction. But I think now that we know they're playing blue, it's not very probable. But if I wait, Recruiter of the Guard beats me next turn. So I don't think I'm actually supposed to wait. And now we'll Beseech the Mirror, bargain away the Mox Opal. Here's a pause. They clearly have interaction. And that's a Force of Will. Pass the turn. Aether Vials on 2 and 3. They swing. If they don't use the Wishclaw Talisman or do anything else, if I draw a untapped land, I could try another Beseech the Mirror. And there's the Recruiter of the Guard I was so worried about. Probably into Lavinia, and that's going to wrap it up. And they do grab their main deck Lavinia. Okay. So we were just in a lose-lose situation. We'll bring in Abrupt Decay. We probably want the Haywire Mite for like Deafening Silence or things like that. Probably not a Death Wish matchup, so we can get rid of that. So the question is, do you want Boomerang Basics? They are a Lavinia strategy. Or are we trying to only rely on Abrupt Decay? I think we'll get rid of 1 Mox Opal and then like 1 Infernal Tutor, and we'll try this. I just don't think there's room to bring in the Boomerang Basics here. If you wanted to bring it in, I think you have to board another Infernal Tutor out and maybe a Chrome Mox. And that seems like overboarding to me. Alright, game 2 on the play. We need to do a little bit better than we did in game 1. This seems reasonable. Keep. We'll play Polluted Delta, Lotus Petal, pass the turn. So I could have played Urza Saga into Chrome Mox, Beseech the Mirror, Wishclaw Talisman on turn 1. I really do understand that, but like Wasteland just blows you out, or a Force of Will on the Wishclaw Talisman. I just don't want to do that. We'll grab Undercity Sewers, keep the Dark Ritual, Urza Saga, Wishclaw Talisman, the Force of Will exiling a Brainstorm. Okay, pass the turn. They grab their own Undercity Sewers, Tundra, no second play, okay, Saga, Ad Nauseam. Well, that was a draw. We'll play Chrome Mox, and I think, at least for now, I'm just going to be on the Urza Saga game plan, because I think this is a sign that they don't have any, or they don't have threats, but they have interaction. So there's no reason to just jam here. Okay, well, I guess they have the Felia. Okay. A little annoying here. If they swing in, I could make a construct and kill the Felia. They are going to swing. Interesting. I'm going to offer the block. They fetch. They have 3 cards in their hand for a scrub land. Clarion Conqueror. Wow. Gotta be kidding me. They have 2 cards. What a hand. We'll draw. So I have a tough decision to make here. I can Dark Ritual and make a construct, but then I'm riding that construct the rest of the game. Like, we win or lose based on that construct. I could just go grab some random artifact that Clear and Conquer shuts off, and then pray to draw another Dark Ritual, and then everything to resolve into Ad Nauseam at some point. But then I would need another full turn cycle to Abrupt Decay the Clarion Conqueror. So I think I'm supposed to just ride and die by this construct token. Main deck Lavinia into Clarion Conqueror. If I somehow pull a rabbit out of a hat and win this game, I will be bringing in the Boomerang basics. We'll grab Haywire Mite, play Chromox, pass the turn. They have a Baleful Strix. We just lost to a Baleful Strix. Okay. We'll play Thoughtseize. We also have Force of Will and Consign to Memory. We'll take the Force of Will. Attack for 1. Pass the turn. They search out Meticulous Archive. So there was some argument to holding the Chromoxes in case I drew Brainstorm. But in my head, I was like, I'd like to get the Chromoxes in play underneath Consign to Memory while they were tapped out. And then it looks like things just didn't really work. And now they put Yori into their hand. I don't think there's any world in which we come back at this point. I'm going to go to 8. Even if I drew Green Source plus Abrupt Decay, I think it's too late. Godclave Apparition. Okay. Fine, you wanted it more. We go 4-1 with no trophy. Womp womp. I mean, 4-1's not a bad result, let's be honest. The deck was fine. I don't know if I'd suggest any changes. I know that there's some flex spots that people talk about right now, like should you be playing 2 Duress over 2 copies of Veil of Summer? Against these Show and Tell decks, 2 Veil of Summer wouldn't have been enough, because they have their own copies of Veil of Summer. I like 4 Thoughtseize for Veil of Summer. I think 15 lands is kind of a lot. Maybe you're not allowed to play. It's tough. Like, if you cut a land, it probably has to be Urza Saga. And Saga was fine this league, but I don't know what else you would do. It's just 15 feels like a lot to me. I don't know if I have any feedback, because if you cut a fetch land, you only have 6 for Brainstorm, which is, I'm sorry, 5 for Brainstorm, which is a little low. So I feel like it almost has to be an Urza Saga. I do think if I were playing this deck more frequently, maybe I'd want a 3rd Beseech the Mirror. And I think the harsh truth to this is, I don't think the Death Wish is that incredible. I think I would probably just run 3 Beseech the Mirrors and no Death Wish, and my sideboard would solve the Debt to the Deathless, beating Ring Veil of Summer problem. It just feels like Death Wish is a pipe dream. The one time we needed it to work, it didn't work. I could be wrong, but that's my 2 cents. Trying to think. One change I did discuss with Shuffles the Drummer, aka Tyler Carden, prior to recording is a lot of lists play a second copy of Tendrils of Agony in the sideboard. And then I mentioned, well, if you have Death Wish into your Debt to the Deathless, why not just play Haywire Mite? And the Haywire Mite, I felt like it was fine throughout the league. Probably better than a second Tendrils of Agony would have been. But I don't play this deck enough to truly have valuable feedback, I think. It's just, I played 5 matches. This is what I found. I kind of think the Death Wish into Debt to the Deathless is not likely to work, but I could be wrong. If you think I'm wrong, let me know why in the comment section down below. That's all I've got. So thank you to Matthew Story for the Nodation deck. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. I hope you have a wonderful day, and as always, keep storming. Thanks for checking out today's video. We are sponsored by KMC Sleeves. I use hard perfect fits on every card in my collection. Doesn't matter if it's a deck, a binder, or a box. And then KMC Hyper Phoenix on all of my decks. They're the best way to protect your cards. And if you're interested in getting your own, visit kmcsleeves.com and use code STORM10 at checkout for 10% off.